are. Here we are. It's Kim and Jennifer. We just realized when we played back episode 3 that we forgot to say who we were. So we're the people behind Fleece Harmony. So that's our mill, our woolen mill, and it's located right in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. And for all the people that are back to see us again, you're still with us. We're very grateful. Thank you very much.
Grateful.
Yeah, grateful. Yes. So today we're going to, we have a really interesting show actually, as we're changing it up a little bit. Going to do a little bit of a tiny little bit of a technical talk about grist, if you haven't heard of that. It's really helpful for yarn substitutions and patterns, so we'll think we get a lot of questions about that in the store. And we've got a cowl that we're going to introduce. We will also be talking about some kits that we're going to introduce as well to accompany the cowl. We have a very special guest that we're very excited about. She's a friend of ours and a well-known singer, Amanda Jackson, but she has a really interesting wool connection. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about our new launch that we have, another yarn launch.
The last one ever.
So we say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And if you believe that.
Yes. So, and that's it. So it's kind of action packed. There's other things that are going along with all those topics that I talked about, but I think we'll get started right away with our finished objects. So I don't have a new finished object. I feel like a real slacker. Yeah, so I did sew my button on my
Anyone who has a sister knows that I cannot make a comment on that.
Right, that's right. So I'm really like pushing the limits now because I'm actually going to show a finished object anyway, but it's actually Ken's finished object. So Ken, we told you that he's been learning to knit, so he started off with scarves. He actually followed the Tin Can Knits Simple Knits videos and things, so he's done his homework, and he graduated from scarves to a hat. So these are all leftover yarn from his Roscoe sweater that I made for him. So he's got a matching hat that he made, which is simple but perfect for what he wanted, a nice wool hat. And now he's actually been commissioned by everybody else on the farm because he wanted to do something different than a scarf, but he likes the rhythm of knitting a scarf. It's easy, he can relax and do it. So he actually made cowls for himself and for me. And this is the one that he made for me, and he made one similar for himself, except it just has one stripe. And we have to talk about it because it fits in with the rest of the theme of the episode will become very clear right away.
It's wool every episode.
Wool. Yeah, it's wool, but for working out, first of all, I should say it's not a blizzard today, so this is the first episode when it's actually a nice sunny day, but man, it's cold. So we've been dealing with minus 15 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for people that are watching us in other places, but it's cold, very cold. And I had a little like turtleneck cowl thing that I was wearing that was a kind of a for outdoor sports, and so it was like supposed to be high-tech fabric. That's what it was supposed to be. So it was okay, it was comfortable, but what happened was every time you put it up around your mouth, and I wear glasses outside sometimes, and every time you breathed it fogged up your glasses. It got wet. Jennifer had a similar one.
Smells like a goalie bag.
Yeah, not great, right?
And we have a few goalies in our family, and that's not good.
Yeah, trust us. So Ken said, "Do you want me to knit you one of those cowls?" And I said, "Sure, honey, go ahead." Because I didn't really, my cowl didn't smell like a hockey bag, but it was always bothering me about the face and the fact that your face got wet. too. It's like you're breathing the condensation.
Well, that's where the hockey bag smell comes from.
Yes.
The moisture.
It's not dried out properly. Anyway, he made me this, and like any good wife would do, I wore it the very next day, and I was like, phew, I can't believe it. Like, we work with wool every single day of our lives, and I don't know why I just didn't, I don't know why I was surprised, but the difference that this made, it's 100% wool. There's nothing special about it. He knit it in garter stitch, so it's not some kind of fancy fabric. It's just beautiful, and it gets wet, but it stays warm. It doesn't, my condensation is not building up on my glasses. It's just, and some days in the last week, it's been, my neck has been the warmest part of my whole, even though we're dressed up for all winter gear. So,
and then I had to borrow it, and I was too hot. I had to take it off, and it seamed too. Actually, he didn't even knit it in the round, so it's very, very simple. It's just like a scarf and seam it. Anyway, I wore it, and I felt like, I think the blood is boiling in my neck. Like, it was like you have a boiler around your neck, and I started to panic. Like, get it off. It's too hot, but it's amazing. And it's the, it's the wool is very quick to disperse moisture, so it dries as you're wearing it. Like, it doesn't build, moisture doesn't build up, and it's thermoregulating, and except for my panic feeling about where I was getting too hot.
That was when we were still putting the hay in, so you were working. Physical exertion.
Farm chores are weird like that. Like, you go out and you're freezing. And then you start working and you get too hot, so you take some things off. Then there's something else where you have to wait around, you put everything back on. It's just, but it's really actually, it's good cardio. I think our resting heart rates are just fine just from doing morning chores. And we, of course, have to do it every single day, so it keeps you nice and healthy. But yeah, keeping the temperature regulated on your body is really important.
So, it's not my FO, it's Ken's finished object, but he's now making them for everybody. He's in the middle of doing Jennifer's. So he's got one for himself. He knit me one. Jennifer's is the next one. And then Stephen is going to get one as well. So we'll all have them, and we'll be very appreciative. So that's that.
Mine seems to be taking a long time.
Yeah, because he started something else, which you're going to see.
Oh my gosh, now he's got cast-on-itis.
Okay. So that's not really, that's a real cheat on the finished object side of things, but Jennifer actually has a legitimate finished object.
I do. I almost forgot for a second there. Okay. So, of course, I finished waiting for rain. And I have sort of plans to do a little proper photo shoot with this, but not in -25. So that will come later, and of course it'll be on Instagram. But this is my Waiting for Rain shawl. I have no idea if you can see this or not, but and the bind off. So the pattern comes with alternate bind off, so you can either bind it off in sort of a less fancy way or with this one. And this was absolutely my most favorite part.
Yes, of course we had to go with the fancy one.
Yeah.
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 Of course. I can hardly. Oh. What? I can hardly wait for.
Oh yeah, because you get to do it too. Yeah. So I started out and I was a little bit. I didn't understand what a double yarn over is. So it's actually just twice the size. It's not 2 stitches.
Right.
Yeah. So important tip. And I'm finding as I get older, it's like you regress a little bit and you kind of get that little toddler thing where you're like, ugh, I don't get it. It might be just me. Anyway, so, but once I got it, it's actually remarkably fast for a very fancy picot style bind off. Yeah, there's like 5 little rows, I think, to it, but you can get a rhythm with it and actually go pretty quickly because this is 400 stitches that I had to do, and each picot is binding off 3 at a time, I think. So it's not as bad as you would think. Totally worth doing.
It's so nice.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, if it. One of the things I love about crescent shapes of any type is the little tendrils that just make the shawl wearing so easy. As we were explaining last week, we don't know much about how to arrange shawls and keep them pretty. But yeah, so I knew I was gonna love making this because it's just so beautiful. It was really, really easy, to be honest with you. It does work up to be fairly big, like the rows are long at the end. And it would have been absolutely perfect had I not accidentally reverse directions and created a half a row of stockinette in the middle of the final longest 360 stitch garter. After you've been knitting 2 years, I don't know how you can do that.
But you knit in front of the TV all the time.
I don't know how I do it.
I can't knit in front of the TV when I'm doing that.
Yeah, and it's dark, and you know, your eyes are getting bad, and I have no idea how I did that. And the added pleasure of then when you go to rip it out, it's all backwards, so it doesn't just rip out properly when you've knit backwards across stitches that you just knit across, just by the way.
Okay.
So then,
good to know.
Yeah.
Try to avoid that.
And it was like a whole 24-hour period's worth of stuff I had to rip out because I'm not someone who remembers to stop and look at my knitting very often. Like I'm just, you know, go, 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 and then you can be very far before you, there's a row of stockinette in there, or half of one. Anyway, so having to do this part twice did make it a little bit longer, but it's pretty much a perfect project, I think, if you like shawl knitting. And you know, I can't add anything to what everybody's already saying about this pattern, really, but by some miracle you haven't heard of it yet. Full endorsement.
Yeah.
I loved making it.
It's gorgeous.
All right, so now, are we going, is that it for FOs? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So whips, I'm very excited about my whip.
I guess she wants to go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. People watching this are like, is this one ever not excited about something?
Yeah.
Trust me.
Okay.
Okay.
The sweater.
Pardon?
The sweater.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm not going to pull that off. You know I'm not excited about some things. Okay. So what I'm making next is called Ramia, and it's by another Canadian designer who we just discovered. She has a few designs on Ravelry already. All of them are exceptional, I think. She just has a really cool, I don't know, aesthetic. I guess that word gets overused now. But I love all her stuff, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to do in the future. So her name is Jennifer Beal, and the Ramia sweater is the first design of hers that I'm going to do, and I'm really excited about it. And of course, I'm making it out of our lace weight yarn. Now the yarn is a tiny bit fine for what the pattern calls for. She made it in a fingering, but I've managed to get it to work after swatching just a few different sizes. And I'll tell you, and you can probably tell by seeing the picture of the pattern, there's a lot of swatching involved in getting started with this one. So there's a stockinette, a lace, and a color work portion to the pattern. And all of those, you know, to be responsible, you need to swatch, particularly because it's knit seamlessly sideways. Yeah.
I don't understand how it's going to work. But
I know, me either, but I'm so excited. And if anybody wants to join me on this adventure, I think moral support might be important. So just message me.
We could actually start a thread on our
that's what I'm just going to say.
Oh, okay.
If anyone else wants to try to make it, it's not a formal knit along or anything, but I would love to have someone else to work through this with, because just reading through the instructions, my mind is completely blown, but I'm up for it. If I get through the swatching.
I think she must be really smart.
She's very smart.
Yeah.
Like I love finding new Canadian talent. Well, new to us anyway, and the pattern's spectacular. So I did struggle with getting gauge a little bit. So the tricky thing is that because you're knitting it sideways, it's row gauge that is critically important. So you just have to think like everything's kind of turned on its head, or well, on its side. And I'm very familiar with usually working with our 100% wool blends on like the horizontal gauge, but to do it vertical, it relaxes less. So I was less able to quickly predict how I might need to adjust my needle size for my own knitting style and whatnot. So this is the third one, but I think I've got it right this time. And then I'll move on to the color work swatch to get that.
So that fabric, we've just been, you know, raving among ourselves about the fabric that this lace makes, actually, because and Jennifer's a really consistent knitter as well. Like when you make your stitches, it's a lot of consistency in it.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. So it looks like it's machine knit.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
I was thought, oh my gosh, knitting a whole sweater with a 2.5 millimeter. But I was actually disappointed when I had to go up a needle size, because this little 2.25 jobby here, it looks like a knit fabric. Yeah. Like a commercial fabric. I love it. Yeah. So, and the color scheme. So you will have noticed by now that there's 4 colors involved in the pattern, because there's a color work portion to it. So I didn't want to do exactly what Jennifer did for her sample, just because I don't really have a speckled gray like that. So I've chosen our Mayflower for the main color, and then my color work is going to be in these three. I'm so excited, you guys.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's all I can do to keep swatching. It
started out being gray and pastel-y.
Yeah, but
and then it evolved.
Yeah, so just a little secret about why I changed my mind, because with color theory and things, like, you want contrast, but the tones also have to match. So the truth is that these are actually the same color.
It's hard to believe, eh?
Yeah, one is just 40 times lighter than the other. So this is all just exactly the same color. So naturally I knew that they would work together and be very high contrast because of the different depths of shade, as we say in the color theory
I guess
world.
we'll be talking about more of that when we get to our dyeing and the wool making process.
Yeah, for sure. And then these I knew were complementary because I had chosen them that way for the collection, just so that people could mix and match in projects. So we always try to keep that in mind when we're launching a new yarn, that we're not making in all 70 colors we make, which we're never going to launch a yarn in all 70 colors ever again. So I'm really excited. It is sort of a whip because I'm swatching it. I'm doing the color work swatch tonight because I'm pretty sure I'm on the right track with the stockinette, and then I just have to do the lace, which I think will be pretty easy because I'm thinking I'm just going to go down the proportionate needle size that she recommends in the pattern. So yeah, and thank you to Jennifer for all your support and help, and I know she's watching this, so she's excited to see how it turns out too.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us to talking about swatching and gauge and yarn substitution a little bit. And I'm going to let Kim talk about what she's learned about the grist of yarn. But personally, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of like the intense, impatient, crazy type. We're opposites. So I'm working on embracing the process of, just taking the care to get it right the first time, first of all, because my swatch is often part of the object that I just measure after I'm a third of the way through. But you need to block them. I mean, that's the truth. Like, if you're going to swatch and not soak and block it, particularly in our yarn, you don't have the right size because it relaxes.
It changes, the fabric changes.
Yeah, and you're losing maybe a little bit of spinning oil, maybe a little bit more lanolin that didn't come out through the milling process. Yeah. You're going to, even everything up by soaking it. You're going to even everything out and stretch it out slightly by blocking it. And it's really, really important. So anyone who's ordered from us knows you get a little postcard that says, for best results, soak, which means like half an hour, and then block your swatch. So it goes without saying, if you're going to soak and block your swatch, you must have one.
Yes. And you need to trust it once it's done.
Yes, because it'll look smaller as you're knitting it, and you can panic. I've done that before. I did that once with a vest, and I ended up with something that looked like a Star Trek uniform because it had epaulettes like out to here because I had soaked and blocked my swatch.
Right.
But then I was knitting it. I was like, this is never going to fit, and it came out too big. So I know most people don't think it's the fun part, but I think when you're so excited about knitting something and it's going to bring you such joy, what's the point of rushing it, really? Then it's over.
Right.
And so I'm really trying to enjoy all the parts of this. So I just hope you weren't intimidated by the 3 different types of stitches and swatches required for this project. And I encourage you to try it. And I am personally going to learn a lot of new skills doing this one. We substitute a lot because we always want to knit stuff with our own yarn. So that's kind of the name of the game. So Kim, just tell everybody what you learned about that from the article that we're recommending.
Yeah, so we're going to recommend, if you're interested in this with yarn substitution, that you check out the Mason-Dixon knitting site. And there's a great article on this by Jillian Moreno, who talks about grist. So the grist it's a spinning term, I guess, but I hadn't heard of it until I read this article. And if you just Google Mason-Dixon knitting grist, the article will come right up. So it's actually called The Secret Measurement of Substituting Yarn. So that's the full title of the article. And what she talks about is the way that different fibers that are in the yarn affect the way that the yarn performs when you knit with them, and how the weight of the yarn and the yardage of the yarn are how you really know if you can make a substitution that's going to make sense and give you a nice result on your project. And she gives a couple examples in there of I think she calls them mystery date number 1, mystery date number 2. So it's a really cute article. It's easy to understand. And to be honest, swatching would be great in that as well, because she talks there's a little bit of math involved, not too much, but just a little bit. And when you see how it works, the penny will drop for sure. Okay, so now it makes sense. And you'll understand why some of the projects where you tried to substitute a yarn didn't work. Or maybe they worked fantastically, but you don't know why either. So you'll know all the secrets of that when you read that article. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to substitute, that you take a look at that. And it's easy to understand, but it's really important, and hardly anybody talks about it. So
yeah, and it's the key, and particularly since we're mill owners, we understand the spinning, the plying, the number of plies, the contents of the yarn, the way it's put up, whether it's been rinsed before or not, if it's dyed. Like, our yarn fluffs up when I dye it. So, for example, with the Wild and Reckless Heart sweater that we showed in our first episode, I was trying to substitute a woolen spun 100% wool yarn into a pattern that was designed using a worsted spun superwash yarn.
Right.
Well, you could not get gauged.
Right.
It was impossible. So I ended up having to adjust the size I was knitting to make it fit. So then when I went in to do the Ramia by Jennifer, I assumed, okay, I'll be fine with a finer yarn because it's a worsted spun, and she's doing it with, I thought, well, it's 100% wool, and she did it with a superwash. But mine is a worsted spun, a semi-worsted spin, with mohair added. So that actually made it really, really, really smooth, like a superwash. So those, if I had just matched the yardage and the weight, it probably would have worked perfectly. But there's so much more to it than just, looking at the yardage and the weight. There's everything that goes into creating that yarn makes it unique. And so the article is really, really valuable just to get you on the right track with that.
Super valuable. Easy to understand, even though for some people this may sound kind of complex what we're talking about, but trust, like, we're literally not rocket scientists, so it's really helpful when you're making decisions about substituting yarns. And if that opens up a whole world for people. Like, you get the fabric that you want and the yarn that you want to use and the fibers you want to use, and it's really valuable. And you can make anything out of anything. You might not want to after you figured it out, because she actually also in the article talks about one yarn was going to give her a sweater that was 1 pound, and another yarn was going to give her a sweater that was almost 2 pounds. So she says no thanks to the 2 pound sweater. So that's part of it as well. So
it's like stretching before your workout.
Gotta do it. And at the end, you'll have something that you're going to love and cherish. So.
And I was so confident saying that as someone who hasn't worked out in 10 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Or ever.
So I have a whip.
Yes, Kim
I have a work in progress. So I'm also doing a Sylvia McFadden shawl, which I'm very excited about, because I was completely intrigued by the whole inserts of the lace within the garter stitch thing that Jennifer talked a lot about in the last episode. So I'm doing water, and I'm using the ELDON LACE. Sorry, I've got 2 balls attached here because I'm alternating skeins. I'm being very, very good about that.
Also, like stretching before a workout.
Yes. So, of course, for those that don't know, we alternate skeins in yarns that are hand dyed to prevent color pooling. Although I will say I cheated a little bit, because I didn't alternate during the lace part. So
a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. So what I figured was, because it's broken up, the lace is broken up, and you've got all these eyelets and everything, that would, even if there was a little bit of pooling, it would be less obvious. In the sea of garter stitch, obviously you'd be able to see if you had to change skein. So I didn't alternate.
Yeah, me either, because the way it's constructed, it wouldn't even make sense to.
It's hard to.
No, if you're gonna, don't worry about the lace section. Yeah.
So this is, it's super cool. this technique is really super cool. I have to say, I wasn't disappointed. And I'm not a big fan of short rows with wrap and turn. And to be honest, I see all of the beautiful results that people do with short rows and sweaters for shaping and everything, but I've only used short rows so far in socks, and I've knit lots of socks using short rows, and I still really don't kind of get it why it works, because I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not sure what this is doing technically, what it's doing.
Yeah, me either.
In my scientific mind, that really bothers me, but
I think there's a crafty course just about short rows.
Yes.
We should take that. Okay.
Yeah, it's Blueprint now.
Blueprint.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just on there this morning.
Okay.
So anyway, it's super cool because it's you're doing short rows to do the lace, but you're actually just turning your work and keeping going. She doesn't complicate things with turns and wraps and whatever.
Who can ever get that knit them on the reverse direction together thing right? Not me.
Anyway, this is how far I've gotten. It's going to be a crescent shaped shawl as well, which is, as Jennifer said, there's all the advantages of that because it's nice and drapey and generous, and you have those tendrils to keep it in place. So this is how far I've gotten. The color that I'm using is November Sky, and there's not really much more to say. It's really, the project is doing exactly what I want it to do. It's something really different, and it is really great when you have that little bit of a challenge of doing the lace, and then you hit the garter stitch and you're like, wow, okay, so then you're really moving with it. So I'm on my second, I have a few more rows to do of my second piece of garter, and then I start part 2. I think there's 6 parts to this, which is each part has a section of garter and a section of the...
Yeah, and Waiting for Rain has 4. And it's November Sky in the ELDON LACE.
In the ELDON LACE,
which we just launched 2 weeks ago, but we're having loads of fun with.
Yes, and I have to say, it has the mohair in it, and I wasn't sure, it's not, if you think of some of the mohair silk blends of yarn that you've seen and knit with, and it has all that really fluffy stuff, it's not like that in this yarn. It just gives it this really kind of silky feeling, and it's a nice smooth fabric for this. It's really nice, drapey. Because
Insider Mill tip, we've used adult mohair, but we've used a high grade of adult mohair, so it's called fine adult mohair, and a lot of the other mohair yarns would have a kid mohair, which is like the first clip mohair from baby mohairs.
No, Angora goats.
I know.
Baby mows. With their hair.
Yeah, by the time we get done with them, they're no hairs.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. They're naked. So that's my whip. So I'm really happy. It's a really nice project. And after all of the cables and the all over cables and everything, it has a nice balance, just like you promised it would. So it's a really good.
We're loving it. We want to make all the things.
Yeah, we want to make all the things.
We didn't really think we would be able to create a lace yarn.
Nice.
Opens up a lot of other projects you can do.
Yeah, exactly. And things that you're going to be able to wear all year round.
Yeah,
because back to your
I'm just gonna get rid of it because like the Ramia sweater is a 3/4 length, so I'm definitely looking at it as a summer project, which around here, who knows what you'll have to wear.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not introducing the next one. You have to do it. Smitten with Knit and Mittens.
No.
Oh, I practiced that one.
Okay.
Smitten with Mittens.
No. She doesn't even know. But I'll say it and then you try to say it.
No.
It's the Smitten for Knittens. I can't do it! Oh my gosh, I've been practicing for weeks. Okay, Smitten for Mittens, knitting along.
Yeah, that's
Go ahead.
Smitten for mittens, knitting along. No, can't. Okay, move on.
Smitten for Mittens, knitting along.
Okay, Smitten for Mittens, knitting along.
Ah, there you go. Okay, so it's our first.
We've been talking about that for 3 weeks. Trust me, I've been practicing. I felt like I was 10. Okay. What is smitten for? And then I made Ken try to say it.
Yeah, try it. It's a tricky one. Okay. So anyway, it's the Smitten for Knittens. Smitten for Mittens, knitting along. And cast on date is February 1st, and it's going till March 30th, which is sort of the end of March break season, because I'm thinking everybody loves to have new mittens for out and with their winter ski adventures. Maybe they probably wear high-tech fiber gloves. for skiing.
Ooh.
Maybe not cross-country skiers.
No, but anyway, in the lodge.
Yeah, in the
for
lodge.
Your hot chocolate.
That was my thinking. Whatever.
Yeah,
it goes till March 30th. Okay. So personally, I am going to be knitting Roses Are Red by Pia Kammeborn, which they're my dream mittens. I can't wait. I can't wait to make them. And Pia has been very generous and offered a discount code on the pattern for our participants. So we'll set up a Ravelry group, actually 2 Ravelry threads. I get group and thread confused. The first thread will be to sort of join in the knit along, and that'll be the chatty thread. And then there will be a no chat thread to display your finished objects. And anybody who wants to join me in knitting Roses Are Red is going to get 20% off the pattern. But of course you must participate in the knit along. We can't just send poor Pia's code out to everybody.
Right.
And we'd love to have as many people as possible. So to help support Pia at the same time and to encourage people to do a little bit more of a complex project and really spend some time on it, because we do have 2 months, we've also done kits. And the kits are a combination of our 100% wool fingering and a little bit of 30% mohair fingering yarn. So if for some reason you can't work with mohair, please don't order the kit, because some of the colors will contain a little bit of mohair. Yeah. And this is the blue version. I'm basing the kits on exactly the 3 different color schemes that Pia has in her pattern. So there's a blue base, a red base, and sort of a I don't know, it's like a gold sort of color. So we'll have kits for all 3. I only have the blue done up right now, but this is basically what you'll get. I'm providing lots of extra yardage, but you should swatch, because that's one of the big problems with kits is when you do a shawl kit or something, if people don't swatch, they could use 2 more balls. Like if I made this poncho once, it fit my horse. Yeah. So if that had been a kit, since I didn't swatch, I would have been really in trouble. So so that's kind of just a cautionary tale about when you buy a kit. But I am putting in a lot of extra, and the kits are only going to be $34. So I think that's pretty good to get 4 different colors and be able to knit along. So that's the Smitten for Mittens knitting along.
Oh, you're good.
I'm surprised I screwed it up the first time.
Oh.
Well, because I practiced it so much. So any questions or anything, just drop us a line. The thread is already set up by the time you're seeing this, and we're all set to go. And we did allow time before everybody casts on, just in case people want to order the kit, so we have a chance to get them out to them unless they're really, really far away.
Right. Okay, so now we have a special guest. Yes.
And it has to do with this.
Yes, if you're wondering why we've piled up all these wool blankets. So I guess you're all getting the idea now that we're big fans of wool and 100% wool. So we actually, this is our collection of wool blankets that we have between our 2 households. So we piled up everything. So we have 100% wool throws that we have wrapped around us while we're watching TV. And we live in an old house, as you know. And it's not always super toasty warm. It is when our wood, we have a wood furnace, and Jennifer and Stephen have a wood stove. So it's cozy, but I'm not sure about the insulation factor.
There's none.
Yeah.
Insulation, none. What's that? We have none. Yeah. Not a whit, except for the stuff that our husbands have maybe squirted in cracks in the basement. Yeah. So I just want to tell my favorite farmhouse joke.
Okay.
What's the warmest place in an old farmhouse? Outside, downwind from it.
I thought you were going to say in our hearts.
No. Second warmest place. Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty, I mean, there is no insulation. There's not no, it was built in 1850 something. Yeah. And if there was any, it's well disintegrated and down. It was probably seaweed or horsehair or, you know.
Exactly. Who knows? We probably don't want to know.
Some lovely biodegradable organic material.
Yes.
But in this case, it probably would have been better if it didn't biodegrade.
So well, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about it with Amanda.
Yeah.
But so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our little conversation with Amanda Jackson.
Yeah, and we'll see you back in a few minutes.
Okay, bye.
All right, so we want to introduce everyone to our friend Amanda Jackson, and the reason we've got Amanda here is because she's quite a big fan of wool for a very unique reason, and that reason is for 3 years, Amanda lived in the woods, completely off the grid.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Despite how she looks today, very beautiful, and she's actually a trained esthetician.
Yes.
Yes, but was out there roughing it with no electricity.
Yes.
Yeah.
For 3 years.
For 3 whole years. So people write us all the time and they're like, what adventurous, courageous women quitting your Toronto jobs and buying a sheep farm. But when we found out that Amanda had been unplugged for 3 years, we really wanted to hear more about it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be discussing today. So Amanda, tell us, how on earth did you end up off the grid for 3 years?
Well, there was a boy.
Oh.
Yeah, we fell in love and got married on a beach. We eloped in PEI, and the dream was, we just wanted to live a very peaceful life. We both came from, I won't get into details, but we both came from, some high anxiety, stressed out pasts.
Okay.
And we just wanted peace, and we wanted a beautiful, quiet place. And he's a carpenter by trade. So we, we'd have a glass of wine and we'd do these drawings on the table at night and dream it out. And we designed ourselves a timber frame home, which he had never built before. And I come from a long line of carpenters. I'd never built a timber frame before. And so then the next step was to find land. I had a little bit of money because I had a really bad car accident.
Oh.
Yeah, in 2003. I had a really bad car accident and my neck and my back are pretty much ruined because of it. I function. But I had a little bit of savings, so I was looking for land in PEI, and we wanted something quiet, secluded, where you can't see your neighbor. And that's still possible here in PEI, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other places where, like the town where you are all bumped up together. So we had the option to pick what we wanted. And we didn't think of anything too large. We were thinking maybe 20 acres. And then this lot came up for sale, 70 acres, down the road from you guys.
Yeah.
We're on the same road.
Yeah.
We're on the Garfield, Route 207.
Yeah.
And it was priced a little high for me at the time. So I just kind of sat on it and never approached it at all, and looked at some other properties in the meantime, and then I noticed it dropped in half.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that was
Adventures in real
sign.
estate.
Yeah, right? But that was a sign, and I think because they weren't getting a lot of hits on it because it was so isolated. It's on a dirt road, electricity does run down the road, but anyway, I'll backtrack a little bit. So we put an offer in even lower than the half drop down,
right?
And was
Cheeky.
accepted.
Nice.
Well, I offered what I had.
Yeah, of course.
And it was this lovely old lady whose husband had died, who had invested in a lot of properties, and so he had died, and she was just trying to get rid of these.
Oh, okay.
The real estate agent laughed at me.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
helpful.
she's not going to accept this. She just dropped it in half. She's not going to accept this.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, do what you can. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Yeah. And it was meant to be. So I even told the real estate agent, my husband and I are going to build a house there and we're going to live there. And so he told her that story and she said, I like it. I want to sell it to them.
Yeah. I was going to say, sometimes people want their land to go to somebody that they...
They want to know what's going to be done with it. It's part of the story of their legacy, I guess.
Exactly. It wasn't going to be clear cut into blueberry fields.
Right.
It wasn't going to be clear cut into a golf course, you know, which is happening a lot here in PEI.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what we did. It took us 3 years to cut the frame by hand. We just didn't have the money to run in electricity, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
We did what we could. So we had chainsaw mortisers, which were run on gas. We made our own mallets. We bought chisels from a swordsmith down in Florida.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and if you dropped one, you could cut your foot in half.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, because they were like weighted and balanced. They were amazing. And we made our own beech mallets from the beech trees on the property. And, we pumped up and... that's how we did it. So, yeah. Electricity just wasn't a priority. But then in doing so, with the whole idea of wanting to live simply and quietly, we just kind of started exploring the idea of, well, hey, maybe we could get some solar panels on this.
Right.
Or, maybe we'll... we did buy a battery bank from a guy in Nova Scotia, a large 3-piece battery bank. And I don't know, things don't happen as they're supposed to. So we ended up getting a gas-fired generator and we just kind of worked off that. So it would power the batteries and then we could work off the batteries. And we built a house like that.
Wow. And so that's
wild.
Yeah, and so I mean, internet service in PEI is tricky no matter where you are, but you didn't even have a place to plug it. Like, you had no Wi-Fi, obviously.
No, I didn't actually. So I'm talking about this all happened in like 08, 09, 2010. I just got internet 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah.
And now, because you're quite involved, like you're on social media because of your work and stuff like that. So, like, what was that like? Like, you just dove into it, and now all of a sudden you're in the deep end and you have everything. So
yeah, it's interesting. There are some things I do wish I could have back. You know, when the lack of hum of a refrigerator in a house. What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
You know, like when the power goes out, and everyone just goes.
Yeah, it's true.
I slept like a baby.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. There's some things I wish I could have back, but I've still made choices since deciding to go back on the grid. I went on the grid about 4 years ago, and there's some choices we made. I don't have a microwave. I don't have a clothes dryer. You know, my electrical demands are very low. I think that's just me still trying to keep it simple. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, just be mindful of my usage.
Yeah. So the peace and quiet was the one thing that you really enjoyed. Was there? What was the most difficult part? Was there anything that was difficult? I mean, that's a lot of hard work, but sort of lifestyle difficult.
Lifestyle difficult. Well, it was difficult in that I would go out and work my day as an esthetician and, you know, try to act like a normal person that had a hot shower, but didn't.
Right.
I didn't smell right. But walking through the door of my lovely home, I instantly had to start working.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like a haven where I could walk in, put my feet up and go, oh, I'm home, I'm done with that. No, I had to make sure the wood stove was running. I had to make sure I had gas in my generator if I needed it for anything. Like I mostly use the generator for filling my water tank to run the pump. So it takes a lot of snow to flush a toilet.
Yeah. Right? Does that even work? Were you wet?
I had this really big bucket, and I would put it on the top of the wood stove, and we would fill it with snow. And this much snow, I'm not joking, would melt down to that.
Yeah. We've tried that in our heated horse buckets before. It doesn't work.
No.
It melts into nothing.
So that, you know.
So you didn't have plumbing. So you gravity flushed your toilets for 3 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And we experimented with a compost toilet system, which, unless you really, 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 really know what you're doing, is not fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So
but your home is lovely now, and it's
Thank you.
cozy.
Yes, you've both been there.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, but my gosh, I don't think we realized how long you had to wait to actually reap the rewards of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a divorce ensued, unfortunately. We're still great friends, but we just realized we were on different paths. He moved out west. And it's really all I had, so I held down the fort. I mean, there was a possibility of us selling it, but because it wasn't in a perfect finished state, it wasn't attractive on the real estate market. I even had the monks come look at it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the monks that I don't know if
we've never
your audience knows about the monks,
monks,
but we've got this amazing, beautiful monk community that are now living in PEI.
Yeah.
And they have been buying different places, secluded places, and I thought it's perfect,
peaceful.
They didn't like how long my driveway was.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
okay.
and the amenities just weren't there.
Yeah.
So.
And the time we were at your place, we did have to walk in.
Yes,
or there was
absolutely.
A shuttle bus.
Yes. Very long driveway.
Yeah. Which, you know, I think, we love peace too. So, but in the winter here, it's hard. I mean, it's a lot of work to keep functioning. If you have a long driveway and a dirt road, and there are extra challenges. So you have to be used to living in isolation.
Yeah, and you just got to kind of think ahead. You know, it's like you can't just show up and expect something to work. Like, I couldn't just walk in my house and flick on a light.
Right.
Because that's not going to happen, right? So I got to be mindful. Do I have enough kerosene on site? You know, do I have a candle? And then, even then, at night, you know, make sure all that's off.
Yeah.
Wow,
and so
amazing.
we discussed that wool socks and wool blankets were very important at this time.
Mercy, yes. Absolutely. You know, I went to a yard sale, and there was this sweet lady, and she had these dark gray, the densest wool blanket I've ever seen in my life. They were heavy.
Yeah.
Like, they had heavy weight to them.
Yeah.
And she said that they were, she called them car blankets.
Yeah.
You've heard of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were 100% pure wool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I bought them all.
Good for you. Yes.
Right.
And I'm like, I live in a house with no electricity and one wood stove, and I'm going to take them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're amazing.
And
I still have them.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and would you sleep under them at night?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because then if the stove goes out,
Yeah, because it's not a furnace, you know. It's not. It's something I do have to feed every 3-4 hours, depending on the night.
Yeah.
If it's -20,
so you still heat your house with that?
I do.
Stove,
yeah,
right?
that's
a
my
beautiful
baby.
wood stove.
Yeah,
it's hot as heck in there.
When we get her going.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big old Vermont castings. It's 1975. I think is the year on it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But no, I slept underneath those wool blankets, and I was cozy.
Yeah, and you don't get hot and sweaty, because if it does get hot,
it breathes.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah,
it's so different. And I actually like the weight of it. And I was reading something online this morning about weighted blankets for people with insomnia.
Right.
Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And what could be better than wool? And I think a lot of people put wool blankets on their bed, but they put it on top of the sheet. No. It goes next to where the sweat comes from.
I did that wrong.
Yeah.
You would have been even more comfortable.
You should actually. I sleep with it under the sheet, because then you've got the thermoregulating properties close
against
to the
your skin.
Yeah.
Really?
I only just.
You can go home and try that tonight.
Well, even in the summer, it's more comfortable because it absorbs all the moisture.
That's
I used to be doing this.
Yeah.
Trying to get some cool air in there. And if you put the wool blanket underneath the top sheet, right on top of your body, it works much better. It's much more comfortable. Yeah, because cotton doesn't do any of that stuff. I'm here to tell you.
No.
So how long were you there by yourself?
About 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
actually, the roughest years I was alone.
Yeah.
With 3 dogs and a cat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. We were.
And then all the time going, I guess, out of the woods to another life where you were just like doing aesthetics.
Yeah, I felt I'm like, who am I? What am I doing?
Yeah. Which is really cool, because when you think about people like living off the grid and all of the stuff that entails, they don't you don't necessarily think about the fact that they would have other jobs, that they'd have to commute to another job that would be in the public, and the public doesn't know that you're.
No, I'd be like, doing somebody's eyebrows, and they'd be saying, how was your day? And I might mention something about my lifestyle, and they're like, what?
Yeah. And when you have people freaking out about the power being off for 36 hours.
Yeah.
It's.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Even now when the power goes out, I just feel like I mentally have to switch gears and okay, we're going back into that zone, but we're in it,
Us too. I don't want to say we like it, but we don't mind it.
Right.
Actually, the only thing that really bothers us about it is if the animals are going to have water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Water.
That's the
water pump.
only. If it was just us. I don't think we'd be too stressed out about it, but it's always just thinking about the animals. That's the only.
Absolutely. And water is key. I know, as I mentioned, I did have a gas fire generator, which I could turn on to fill up the water tank. Yeah. And then I could draw off that. Yeah. It wasn't hot water, but it was water.
Yeah.
But then the generator died.
Oh.
So
the plot thickens.
Then I just felt like I was living in a big wooden tent.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, that was the game changer.
Right.
Because I think he who has water wins.
Right. Yes. Probably more than we all realize right now.
Yeah. Right? So dragging in buckets. I had great neighbors. God love them. Thank goodness for them. Just drinking water. And like I said, melting snow to water the plants and flush the toilet, but you need clean drinking water. Yeah. And that's where I kind of start to break.
Not living the dream anymore.
I think 3 years was long enough.
Yeah. But you did it.
I did, and I look back and I kind of think, how? But it's like anything. You just, one day at a time, you just do it. And
you do what you have to do.
And you still find joy and fun things, and then it becomes a challenge. And I'm a very stubborn person too, so I like the fact that I could push myself. And do it.
Yeah. That's cool. Good. 3 years on your own. Good for you. And we note that you're wearing some lovely Riverside Studio wool hat and a sunflower net scarf. Yeah. Amanda's also a customer of ours.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming.
You're always a bright light.
Yeah.
I have to say. Yeah. You're always joyful.
And we give all our guests hugs before they go.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I love you guys so much.
Neighbors.
These are the best neighbors. I have to say, we as as a local islander, I'm so happy that you guys are doing what you're doing here.
Great. We should say that you're no longer an esthetician.
I'm not. No,
Yes.
I closed that down actually just September past.
Because?
Yeah, because my father-in-law purchased a company called Red Clay Construction.
Yeah.
And we're in the heating system.
Yeah.
Fireplace. That's ironic.
Isn't it?
But they build great fireplaces.
We know how to heat a home with wood.
Yes.
Yeah, and or stuff to cook, like
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah,
wall
masonry
ovens, or
heaters.
what do you call them?
Pizza ovens.
Pizza ovens,
And, yes,
nice.
bread
Yeah.
ovens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful stonework. And yeah, so it's really exciting change.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's say goodbye to everybody then.
Bye. Okay, so we're back. Thanks, Amanda. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Charming woman.
Yes. Yeah,
Just
she's
love her.
lovely. She's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. So we have, we're very busy here in the summer, and we probably get asked about 1,500 times where our sock yarn is. And we don't have any. We didn't
Right.
have any of our own.
Right.
And most of what seems to be very popular has 20% nylon in it. And I'll be honest with you, we do not like spinning nylon in our mill because it is a plastic and it contaminates our mill waste. So it would normally be 100% biodegradable. The minute you start spinning with nylon, it's not.
Yeah.
So that creates bags and bags and bags of waste that can no longer be composted. And it's very tough on the equipment because it's very, very, very strong. And it's also tough on us cleaning it out of the drums of the
Right.
carder. I've literally injured myself trying to strip it out of our machinery because it's basically like little tiny threads of stainless steel is what it feels like. And it wraps around everything. Now that's no offense whatsoever to people who like knitting with it.
Yeah,
but
and we do spin it for customers that
Yes.
want their yarn to be spun with that. But we've made the decision not to sell it nylon sock yarn
Yeah.
for ourselves that we're going to make for ourselves. So.
yeah, and I mean the waste is the worst part of it.
Yeah.
And the shoulder injuries. But I
Right.
mean, just to put it in perspective, I mean, when we clean out the vacuum after we've done several batches of yarn, it collects up all the shorts, which you learned what they were last episode. And it's a full garbage bag full of stuff that would be compostable, but now it isn't because if there's any plastic in it at all, which there would be plenty if you were spinning a 20% nylon, now that bag is garbage instead of being something biodegradable. So that's why we don't like it. It also does, even at 20 to 30%, really change the thermoregulation qualities of the yarn. So you will notice that your feet will get sweatier if there's any nylon in the sock. And I feel really confident saying that because that's farmer tested and we know about sweating in socks because we wear rubber boots all summer long.
Right.
So that's just those are just the facts. It doesn't have the same amount of wicking effect and thermoregulation that 100% wool would. And mohair is a hair, it's not wool, but it is biodegradable and it does add strength to a sock yarn, which is what most people are looking for when they choose a nylon sock yarn. They just don't want it to wear out as quickly. So without further ado, we introduce Point Prim sock. So we've taken to sort of naming our bases after places that are close by. And Point Prim is Prince Edward Island's oldest lighthouse, and it's just down the road from us, and it's a very popular tourist stop.
Right, it's beautiful there.
Yeah, people come here, and then they go there, and they go there, and then they come here, and it has a beautiful gift shop, and they actually have carried some of our yarns there in the summer the last couple of years as well. So we decided to name the sock yarn after Point Prim, and there is nowhere colder in this county than Point Prim in January.
Yeah. It's windy.
So I almost lost my car door down there one day.
Yeah.
So it's literally just a point of land that gets very, very, very narrow at the end, and the wind whips across there like it's on a mission.
Right.
So we thought you would really need warm feet down there at Point Prim. So we've launched with a fairly conservative number of colors. Because I'm showing restraint. So what we have is Rhubarb, A Night Without Stars, and of course Seagull. And this yarn is really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's turned out really, really
It's a
nice.
3-ply.
It's a 3-ply, and it's 20% mohair and 80% wool. So just enough to add strength. It does add a nice smoothness to the yarn, as we were explaining with the lace. And it helps it make it really easy for us to spin it consistently, which means there's not a lot of slubs or anything like that. It's a very, very smooth yarn. And it's 380 yards for 114 grams.
Right.
You can definitely get a pair of socks out of one ball. And I put up a few other novelty colors when I put this on the website, things that I was experimenting with for spring, but I thought, hey, I've got them on hand. I'll just put them up in case anybody wants something a little bit brighter. We kind of started with conservative farmer colors.
Yeah.
So, because of course we're only ever thinking of ourselves.
I have a funny feeling that it's not going to just be 3 colors forever.
Well, not forever.
No.
I already have 5 more planned for the spring. This is just, this is just for today.
Yes, okay.
I mean, we'll probably have 10, and then I might do, you know, a couple special variegated ones in the spring and summer.
Project Creep.
Who knows where it'll end. But this is what we have for now. So, this really kind of came about when we met Kate Atherley. So
Yes.
we are patrons of the Fruity Knitting Podcast.
Yes.
And I think it's a wonderful podcast, and I'm sure you've heard of Patreon by now, but it's a really wonderful way to contribute to creative people who you want to support. And I know it's a bit of a new concept for people, but basically we give them money every month to make their podcast,
Right.
and it's worth every penny.
Yeah.
And Fruity Knitting, as knitting podcasts go, has very valuable rewards for their patrons, and one of those rewards that we get is to get to meet the guests that are on their podcast, and they've had all the best guests you can possibly imagine, and I'm sure many more to come. And so we met Kate through one of those online meetups,
Right.
and she loves socks, and we were talking socks, and she said, now if I could just get my hands on a Canadian mohair sock, I'd be so happy. And I thought, hi.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. So we agreed to meet up after and virtually and chat sock yarn, and she helped us a lot figuring out what the exact percentage and so on should be. We did a few chats around color. I was going to do white. She was like, are you nuts? It'll be so dirty.
Yeah.
And then I had all these bright colors, and she was saying, do you think someone might want gray? And it was just great. And she's been wonderful. And then, much to our surprise, she decided to design a pattern.
We were so excited.
A sock pattern. She's a sock expert. She wrote the book Custom Socks. And so she designed a sock pattern called Both Sides Now and Then. And it's just been released this week in time for us to release our yarn.
Right.
And it's a really exciting pattern. And I encourage you to go on and check it out. And you'll probably hear from Kate a few things promoting it as well. We've tried to coordinate our timing really well. But obviously we'll be casting this on, or at least I will. And I think I'm going to do it in this red. Rhubarb. Be really pretty, because I actually need some new socks for inside my boots. Yeah.
So just from a knitting perspective too, if people are worried about a sock yarn that doesn't have nylon in it, is that your tension when you're knitting socks makes a big difference on how well the socks will wear. So you should be aiming for a fabric that's a bit more dense than how you would normally knit. So you're usually knitting socks in a tighter gauge, a smaller needle than what you would knit a regular fabric for sweaters or other projects. And that actually really helps with the durability of socks, even if it's 100% wool. So in this case, we've added the mohair because that will give strength, but that's one of the key things. We see customers coming in and they've got like beautiful socks, but they've knit them fairly loose, like they would knit a regular fabric for a sweater, and that's part of the reason why you don't have the same durability.
And that sucker is going to slide down inside your rubber boot.
Yeah. Yeah, you want them a bit tighter.
There is nothing worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while we're on the subject of Kate, she also has a new book called The Knitter's Dictionary. And it's a really great, she's so smart. She's all about the details. She works as a technical editor, and I think she's the technical contributor for Mason-Dixon Knitting as well. So she's just great. So this is a new publication, and it's got all the popular terms and things for knitters that knitters need to know, and it's definitely beginner friendly.
Yeah.
And it goes up to probably about intermediate level. There's probably a few new things in here for everybody. But yeah. Lovely little book, and it's small enough to fit in your project bag and take with you. Yeah. And it's just,
it was given to us.
Yes, it was given to us by our friend Cheryl Wortman. Yeah. So thank you, Cheryl, and we're really enjoying it. And I have another one of Kate's books that I used recently, and it's The Beginner's Guide to Designing Hand Knits, I think.
Yeah, I'm reading it now.
You're reading it now? Yeah, I meant to bring it out, but I forgot. Anyway, and that book has been excellent too, and she has kind of a funny sense of humor.
Yeah.
So that's Kate Atherley. And Kate wanted us to let everybody know that she has a jam-packed teaching schedule coming up for 2019, and you can go on there and see if you can catch her somewhere nearby and take one of her classes.
She's really great.
Yeah, she's a really great teacher. I think she has over 50 different classes or something she offers, I heard once.
Yeah.
So she knows her stuff. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So I'm sure everybody's already familiar with her.
Very pragmatic about the way she explains things.
Yeah.
Just like it makes sense.
Yeah, she's great, just great. And we heard about her through Fruity Knitting, so that was lucky for us. And she's just here in Toronto, Ontario, Canadian as well. Yeah. Yeah, so that's perfect. All right.
Okay, so without further ado, we will introduce our ongoing feature, which is talking about the wool processing process. So this week it's washing and drying. So Ken is the star of the show again because we're still in his area. So here we are at week 4 and we're still just preparing. We haven't even started anything that looks like yarn yet.
Nope.
So we're going to go join Ken in the back and he's going to show us what he does for washing the wool and then the drying process.
Yeah, we hope you enjoy it. Okay, so when we're washing fleeces, we use our specially designed washer that uses very little water and very low agitation. We do use some soap, so any amount of agitation in hot water with soap means that the fleece would felt. So this is designed to prevent felting. Here Ken's just mixing it up a little tiny bit, and literally this is all we'll do to it, and then we let the washer do the rest itself through a series of soaking and agitation cycles. Then the washer will drain itself out and the fleece goes out onto these drying racks overnight so that it's dry enough to move on to the next step in the process.
Okay, so thanks, Ken.
We're back. I think he does everything.
Yeah, I know. We're actually going to have to get him sitting here at some point.
Yeah.
So anyway. So I actually, the people that have been following us know that Ken has just recently learned to knit. So he wanted to do, he's actually doing a pair of fingerless mittens now that he wanted to do for working in the barn and stuff. So he started knitting them and he was using, I really didn't want to start teaching on double pointed needles, 4 needles, and you knit with it. I was just like, so really selfishly, I just didn't want to do it. So I taught him magic loop, and the poor guy, I have to say, suffered through doing magic loop for quite a while. But he's making these fingerless mittens that he wants to have them fairly tight because he wants to work with them, and he wants to be able to put them inside his other mittens if he has to. So he was trying to struggle on this circumference, which is the ribbing that stretches. He's not that small, but it stretches quite a bit with magic loop. And I actually tried to help him. He got in some trouble on setting up the pattern at one point, and I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. So we actually carry in our store these 9-inch Chiagu needles that we brought in for a customer of ours that actually knits tons of mittens and socks. So I had never heard of them. So she had asked if we could bring them in, and we said yes. So they're absolutely amazing. It's 9 inches. So even on a small, like the rib cuff of a small fingerless glove, you can just work around, like in the round, without having to have your work stretching and so forth. We've got all of the sizes that they make, and then we've had people asking about smaller needles as well for knitting baby hats or preemie hats. So Chiago also makes 12-inch
and
fixed circles and sleeves. Yeah. So we brought those in as well. So those are available and up on the website, and they don't disappoint. The needles, the end of the needles is really sharp, even though they're wooden. I think they're the sharpest wooden needles that I've used. Actually, I was a bit surprised. And Ken is just he thinks I was holding back, holding out on him now, because he's like, why didn't you just tell me this before? And I said, well, I actually really didn't understand how easy they are to knit with. I will say that if you're not used to knitting with them, it does take a little bit of getting used to, because the place where you can hold on to them is quite small. I knit continental but I just learned Continental, so I was a thrower for many years. I find them a little bit easier to use throwing than Continental, and I'm not sure why that is, but if you don't like magic loop on small circumference and you want to get away from DPNs, this is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I've been using short cable needles for sleeves for a while, and if you're on Sleeve Island, that's like someone bringing you a pina colada.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more pleasant.
Yeah.
And so then when we found out about these, I mean, that's the thing I hate about knitting socks.
Yeah.
Magic loop.
Yeah.
I know some people are really good at it, but I by no means have tiny hands, so it's not, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just so nice just to be able to go around in a circle and not be adjusting things. And you do tend to get stitches stretching, I think, unless maybe I'm just not very good at it.
What he was having problems with is the fabric of this is very mottled, so he was finding it hard to, and there's a little bit of a funky pattern to it, and he was finding it hard to follow where he was because of shifting the stitches around so often, and with the color changes and so it was really, this is much better, but it'll be much better for every project, not just when you've got this speckly or variegated yarn. So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was the Rapture Balm that we have as well.
Because hands and feet.
Because it's very relaxing. So when you've been helping your husband.
It's Jasmine.
It's Jasmine. So if anybody's a fan of the Eucalyptus wash in Rapture, that smell, they actually do make a balm, and this is our...
Yeah, I kind of use a lot. My hands get dry being in water all the time in the dye vat, and I probably use most of that. And it's a teeny tiny little tin, so I think it's supposed to be a luxury, but I kind of gob it on.
It's very concentrated too.
I know, but it's a lovely product. So we have that on our shop. We just thought we'd share it because it's great for this time of year.
Yeah.
And the scent, if you know the Rapture scent from, I mean, what else? We love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. So this project, and
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's more, do you think maybe more lavender or?
I don't know. Anyway, it smells lovely. So we just wanted to talk about that as well.
Yeah, so we're just, again, trying to add things online all the time, just so that you can put some more things in your cart, because it's really important for us to mention that in Canada and the US, we have free shipping over $100.
Right.
So I know shipping when you're buying online is a pain in the butt. We find it a pain in the butt paying for it too.
Yeah.
And our Canadian postal system is not the cheapest.
No.
But it is a really good way if you want to try our yarn, just to add a few other different things in there that you already need or are interested in, and then you get free shipping. And internationally, we have free shipping over $150.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad, I don't think.
Yeah.
We're actually, I think, pretty aggressive in the industry in Canada with our thresholds being that low, especially for our size.
Yeah.
And then finally, we just wanted to remind everybody that if you like our podcast and you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. That helps us get seen on YouTube by other people who might be interested in it. We do really want to build a community of knitters that follow us and can participate in all the knit-alongs and fun things that we plan on doing. And we did get 1 thumbs down.
Yeah. I don't know what.
We're assuming it was an accident.
Well,
that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. We talked about it. We talked about what will happen when we get our first thumbs down, and it happened. Yeah. Right after we talked about it, I think we sent that out into the universe, and, and then it happened.
But we're okay. We've come to terms with it. But we like the thumbs ups better.
Yeah, exactly. And we get it. We're not for everybody. So
definitely not. Well, that we know.
Yeah. So that's okay. We're over it now.
Yeah, totally. We're just kidding. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching again, and we can't wait to be back 2 weeks from now.
Have a great 2 weeks.
Bye.